Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How many of you are attending a session here at FinTree for the first time? How many of you have attended some sessions of level 0 before this? So those of you who do not know, my name is Utkarsh. I would be the instructor for about 80 to 90% of FRM Part 1 syllabus and almost 50% for FRM Part 2. And the agenda for discussion today is FRM program, what it is, who offers, what is the type of exam, and then also how to study for the examination. Okay, so first 15-20 minutes we will have generic discussion on what the program is and what are the career opportunities, what are the type of exam, and then we will get on with preparations. Are we okay? Roughly, I've divided this presentation into 4 sections. First, what is FRM? What subjects, what are the career opportunities, and then what is the preparation strategy. So how many of you have already enrolled for FRM exams? You've already enrolled? Not with FinTree, with GARP Institute. You've already enrolled? So basically, the reason why I ask, once you pay fees, and do you know you have to pay in US dollars? About $650 odd for FRM Part 1, then automatically the level of motivation kind of increases substantially. So nevertheless, let's go through the basics. The institute is GARP, and when we say practice-oriented exam, the focus of the exam is on practical application of concepts. Okay, so most of us have written university exams before this, and mostly university exams in India, which are more focused on testing your knowledge, or maybe to some extent also testing your memory, your ability to retain stuff. FRM exams are completely different. You need to have the knowledge, but you also need to acquire the skill to apply that in a real world setting. Okay, I'll talk about that later on. Then globally respected. I do not precisely know in how many countries they're conducting the exam, but we have been selling online course. This year we sold to about 42 countries. So my guess is, of course, the exam is conducted in many more countries for FRM. Then it's a 2-part examination, part 1, part 2. Are you aware that both the parts can also be written on the same day? Yes, which means if you decide that you have the ability to handle both the part syllabus plus a 8-hour examination, then you can write FRM part 1, part 2 on the same day. So technically the certification can also be finished in 6 months. If you pass part 1, then only your part 2 paper gets graded. Okay, but something goes wrong in the morning, then their part 2 paper will not be graded. So most of the people that I know and I have trained, they typically prefer to take part 1 and part 2 separately with a window of 6 months. And once you are a certified FRM, then you will also have to do certain compliances in terms of maintaining your continuous professional education. Okay, so the official website says that they have chartered holders in 100 countries. Now, syllabus, there are 4 subjects. So foundations of risk management is 20%. Then quantitative analysis, so quant, which is another 20%, and financial markets and products, which is 30%, valuation and risk models, which is another 30%. So which means in FRM part 1 there are total 100 questions which are tested in 4 hours. So out of 100 we are looking at 20 questions which will come from foundations, 20 questions which will come from quant, 30 questions from financial markets, and 30 questions from valuation. And these are multiple choice questions. So you're given 4 options. And what is the negative marking? Yeah, that's kind of the most exciting part. No negative marking. So the law of probability says that if you go and mark all the options as D, 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 then you would get 25 out of 100 correct. And of course that's not sufficient to pass, so don't do that. Yeah, so this is roughly the format of the exams. The timing is 8 a.m. to 12 noon. Now I kind of put a list of key topics so you get a sense of what each of the subject includes. Okay, the reason why we're doing this, so that you get acquainted with what we would be doing over the period of next 4 months. So the first subject, which is more of risk management theory. So I would rate this subject has about 70% theory or maybe even 80% theory and 20% numbers. Okay, and most of the people find theory in this topic a little difficult to handle. Okay, so you have theory on what is risk management, then you also have theory on some very interesting financial disaster cases that have happened in the past. Okay, what happened to Nick Leeson with Bank of Bearings, or what happened with Japanese copper trader, so that type of theory. So these are the topics. Last 2-3 seasons they have also added ethics in the syllabus, okay, which is kind of a tricky game because ethics will tell you that you should get up early in the morning, brush your teeth, don't lie, don't steal, don't cheat, type of stuff. But yeah, we'll still go through it once. Then quantitative analysis. Those of you who are not from engineering background or who've not done mathematics before, this could be a little tricky area. The first section is relatively easier. It is basic statistics and probability. Okay, the school level probability. Finding out probability of an event happening, not happening, Bayes theorem, Bernoulli. Then there is one section on regression, which is still manageable. Most of the people find the later part of the quant quite challenging, which is estimating volatilities, Garch model, FMA model, very, very fancy stuff there. Then financial markets and products. This subject has a very large chunk of numerical component, and this is more or less focused on derivatives and fixed income markets. Do you understand derivatives and fixed income? So very heavy focus on derivatives and fixed income. So we would learn hedging, interest rate, forex, corporate bonds, mortgage backed and rating security. And then valuation of risk model, which is which builds on to financial markets and products. Okay, so again it has derivatives, but more advanced level derivatives. So we will look at option valuation, fixed income valuation, hedging. Plus it has concept of VAR. Heard of it before? Value at risk. Yeah, so kind of a very popular question in risk management interviews and some of the other stuff. Okay, this is part 2. Part 1 to most of the people is very enjoyable studies. I personally kind of love the syllabus that they have. Part 1 syllabus is extremely enjoyable. Derivatives is beautiful. You would get to do some really fancy number crunching. Okay, you have valuation of swaps, Black-Scholes, binomial option. I love those areas, and that's what most of the people love. Part 2, the game changes. It becomes a very large chunk of theory. Okay, so then the focus is on all the risk management, market risk, credit risk, operational risk, and then other risk and some of the recent case studies. So part 2, about 70% of the syllabus becomes theoretical, and a lot of part 2 exam question actually will test questions on your ability to remember stuff. Okay, some of the provisions of Basel norms, or different capital requirement for different risk. Okay, so that type of stuff. So you have a subject on market risk, which is 25%. Then you have a subject on credit risk, 25%. Operational risk, 25%. Then risk management and current issues, which are combined, 25%. So these are roughly 4 or 5 subjects in FRM Part 2. Multiple choice, 80 questions. FRM Part 1, there are 100 MCQs. FRM Part 2, 80 MCQs.
Part 2 is also MCQs.
MCQs, yes. But Part 2, they also put in some case studies. Okay, so 1 case study and maybe 4 MCQs based on that. Not always, but they do put case studies once in a while. Alright, so what are the benefits for FRM program in the market right now? So a little bit about our FinTree's exposure to FRM. We started FRM I think as early as 2011, where we did 1 or 2 batches. So we also have a placement team here where people who pass, we try to help them place. So during those days, FRM was not so much known in the market. So when some of these people passed, we struggled to place them because at least in Indian markets, people did not know what FRM was. But then in the last 2 years, we have seen that the recognition of FRM has increased exponentially in the markets, especially because so many risk management projects are coming to India these days. So Right now, whenever we talk about FRM, we say that FRM is kind of hot, and what we mean by hot is that there are a lot of employers who are looking for FRM qualified professionals, but there is not enough supply. So I was at the exam center yesterday, and I think there were maximum 200 to 250 people who wrote FRM Part 1. Okay, I did not wait for Part 2, but my guess is it would be 70 or 60 people. So the supply is very limited in the market, but the demand is very high. Okay, and that ways, my guess is for next 10-15 years, India is going to be a really good market for FRM. This is a time when FRM program, in my experience, is picking up, and we will see that in the next 5-10 years, FRM would be as big as some of the other programs, especially CFA. So from a job perspective, it's good. What areas? So one is definitely IT. Okay, where FRM is helping is that there are clients who require risk management projects. Okay, and this is where IT people are learning FRM so that they can execute those projects better. Especially people are eyeing the techno-functional areas. Okay, so that's one area where people are finding a lot of job opportunities. Second is operations. Okay, so especially back office and to some extent middle office roles which require FRM qualified professional. Third area is banking space. So this is especially useful for someone who has experience of some other vertical for less than 2 or 3 years, and you are trying to get into banking space. Within banking, credit is one area where people are finding a lot of jobs. Then second is treasury. Both the areas can get you jobs. Fourth, credit rating. So last year we were approached by one of the credit rating very close to our office. They wanted to recruit FRM people because they understood that compared to other certification, FRM has a very specific skill set. So credit rating is one option, especially useful for freshers or people with 2 or 3 years of experience. The switch is easier. And then consulting, of course. So roughly this is the spectrum more or less that we are looking at in terms of jobs that are available. So to get the FRM Charter, you need to pass Part 1, you need to pass Part 2, then you need to provide them documentation on your 2 years of relevant work experience, and then you are given the FRM Charter, and then you have to use those continuing education number of hours every year. So what type of experience is relevant? So they have guidelines on their website. Any experience with respect to risk management is relevant. Oh, no. Even question he asked, even after FRM Part 1, can people use a designation? The answer is no. To be eligible to use a designation, pass Part 1, pass Part 2, provide them with 2 years of relevant work experience, and then get the charter. Then only you can use it. But if you pass Part 1, you are given an email, which is kind of your certificate. You can write that on your CV. And currently, the demand in the market is so high that you pass FRM Part 1, that makes you eligible to get jobs in the space. You will not be given a FRM Charter. If you pass the exams, but you don't have 2 years of experience, you will not have the charter. You can apply for it after you are eligible. That is, after you have 2 years of experience. But you have to apply within 4 years from the date of passing FRM Part 2. No, it's like lifetime. So once you get it, you have it. But if you pass the exams and you don't apply for the charter, then after 4 years, you'll have to reapply for the exams. By the way, this is the exam format. These are the test centers in India. Pune, yesterday the exam was conducted in some remote college towards Khadakwasla. Okay, so all of us went there to write the exams. Level 1, 100 questions, no negative markings, 4 hours, May and November. Level 2, just 80 questions, again May and November. Finish the Part 2. So if you pass your FRM Part 1 now, within 4 years you will have to pass FRM Part 2. If not, then again start with FRM Part 1, if you have the motivation to. And what else? Okay, so now how to pass? Let's question it. What makes you pass? So this is kind of on the face of it, it looks like a very complicated algorithm. Okay, so it's difficult to figure out what exactly works, what not. What we know for sure, there are going to be 100 questions at part 1. Those questions would be coming from different subjects, 20, 20, 30, 30. Now the first element of challenge is that the questions are mixed, which means it's not that they will give you first 20 questions from foundations and then financial markets. The sequence is missed. So a lot of people, when they read the question, it takes for some questions, for some people, they do not understand कि ये question आया कहाँ से है. I mean, is this question from foundations or is it from financial markets? And it will happen because the subjects are kind of overlapping and integrated with each other. Second, how does your mark sheet come out? So they have 4 quartiles. Do you people understand quartiles? So this is the list of subject. Okay, so foundations of risk management, then quant, financial markets and products, and valuation and risk model. And then they will tell you scored in which quartile per subject. So maybe you were in the first quartile, maybe you were second here, maybe you were second here, maybe you were in the third quartile. Are we okay? And then they will tell you whether you have passed or you have not passed. So then the question is that what is the safest strategy? Safest strategy is to get first quartile in all the 4 subjects. And first quartile simply means out of everyone who wrote exams, if we had to rank them for that subject, your rank is between 1 and 25. Top 25% of the people who wrote FRM Part 1 exams for that particular subject, that is first quartile. Then 25 to 50 is second, 50 to 75, and 75 to 100. If you get 4 in all the 4, then of course you're out of the game because you were the lowest scorer in all the subjects. I have seen people getting 1, 2, 2, 2, managing to pass. I have seen people getting 2, 2, 1, 3, managing to pass. So what works, what does not, we really do not know. The way I think of this is, one way of breaking the algorithm is, we know that historically about 45% of the people pass the exams. So which means if there are 100 people writing the exam, then 45 people are going to pass. So that means about half of the people will pass. That means the first 2 quartile. So as long as you do not get into 3rd and 4th quartile, as long as you're in the first 2 quartile, you're going to pass. And the way to think is, it's a relative exam. So basically whether I'll pass or not is a function of how well you did on the exams. Are you following what I'm trying to say? So try to be in the first 50% of the population who are writing FRM Part 1 exams, you're done. And that's in a way good, because generally FRM exam takers, not all, but many of the people are not serious. I was on the center yesterday. There were a lot of people who, the gates closed at 7:45. There were some people who came at 5 minutes before 8. Okay. So then there was a lot of ruckus on the gate, people fighting, ki we paid money, let us write the exams, and that type of stuff. Many of the people, maybe some of them are attending session here, some of them will be joining your batches, who enrolled for previous FRM Part 1, but they were too busy, they could not study. So if there are 100 people writing the exam, at least 25, in my opinion, are not serious candidates. They do not prepare for passing. Something happens, work life or personal life. So technically 45 out of 75 serious people pass, and that's a really, really good passing percentage. And that's why people say that FRM is a difficult syllabus, but difficult exam, but easy to pass. And that's because the competition is not so intense. Some of the other programs like CFA, there is a large number of student community writing the exams. And when students write the exams, they study 12 hours a day for 3-4 months. So the exams are easier, but the passing bar is very high. FRM exams are difficult, but with reasonable preparation, you can pass the exams. Okay, so this is about passing. Now, CFA versus FRM is what we need to discuss. So, this is again my opinion, but this is how I perceive of CFA, and this is how I perceive of FRM. So CFA is substantially broader, 2.5 or 2 years, 3 exams. They cover everything, right from equity, economics, up to ethics, everything gets covered. FRM is substantially more niche, narrow and specific program. A very large part of FRM is repeated in CFA, or if you are doing CFA, about half of FRM is also covered, or at least 70%. Okay, remaining half is more banking related theory and risk management theory. But the benefit of FRM is that it is niche, and when we say niche, it means when an employer is specifically looking for risk management type of profiles, his preference would always be FRM compared to CFA. So even for your decision making, if you want to be very generic in finance as a career option, then go for CFA. But if you know that you want to be in risk management, or you want to be in operations or in IT, banking space, then FRM is a smarter choice too. Yeah, so that's roughly from me. If you have any questions, you can start shooting.